Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's Theological Leftovers. I want to share a quote with you from Wilhelm Loehe today that I like a lot. I think I'm going to also put this quote down in the comments section so that you can read it. It's not super long, but it's compact. It has a lot of stuff in it. It may be hard just to read it and to completely understand it, but I commend it to you for your consideration. I think I know it brings up an issue. If it was relevant in his time, is even more so today, and it's something that we don't tend to think about that we should. Right. So what it has to do with, just a little setup, it has to do with the relationship between congregation and congregations. In the case of the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, for example, Concordia and the circuit that Concordia is part of, or this circuit and the district that it's part of, or this district and the synod that we're a part of, right? This is how we're organized as a church body, and the point of it is that the decisions that we make, because of the culture, the makeup of the culture that we're in, we're fooling ourselves if we think that we make individual decisions that only impact our congregation. That would be like me thinking that I can make whatever decisions in my life that I want, and it's not going to impact anybody else. That's a very naive and self-centered way of looking at things. And unfortunately, as congregations, that's how we tend to think. We tend to act in a way that's in competition with sister congregations, even though I don't know that we're actually trying to compete with other congregations. I think it's just that we're just not thinking about the relationship that we have. And so anyway, I want to read this quote to you, and we'll talk about it a little bit from Wilhelm Loehe. This is quite a long time ago. This is what, 1800s, I guess. So this is quite a long time ago. But in fact, I had the opportunity to do an opening prayer for a Christmas party that somebody asked me to do the prayer for, and this is one of the things that I said to them. I read before I did the invocation, the opening prayer. I read a Paul Gerhardt hymn, 2 verses of Paul Gerhardt hymn, and then I read a Walther prayer. These were not Lutherans, but I warned them ahead of time. I said I'm going to read a hymn, and then I'm going to pray a prayer, and I didn't write any of it. It's all old, and I told them I like old stuff, and the reason is because it never ceases to amaze me how the wisdom from 200 years ago is so appropriate and relevant to what we're dealing with now. We need to listen to our fathers, right? So anyway, I'll say it to you too. I like old stuff. I'll put the quote in the comments so you can take a look at it. Here's what Loehe says. But one cannot fail to recognize that with the current mobility of people, individual congregations come into 1,000 contacts with the greater whole and its parts. So there is no question that a movement may also proceed from an individual congregation affecting wider circles. This causes harmful contacts with dissimilar elements and defies all resolution to work only inside the individual congregation. All right, so again, comment will be down below, but a couple of things about this. Again, first background, Wilhelm Loehe had a huge impact beyond his congregation. His congregation is absolutely amazing. I can't find it quick. I have a biography on Loehe, and it blows my mind how this basically pastor in this rural situation, this little town, was able to have such an enormous impact, not only in his community and his region, but they had an enormous impact by actually sending missionaries, pastors to America. I don't think there was anybody who never came to the United States of America who had a greater impact on the church in America than Wilhelm Loehe, at least in the Lutheran Church. So he was not opposed to a movement, I don't think, but he was opposed to disorder and creating conflict, disharmony, that sort of stuff within the church, right? So The first part, he says, one cannot fail to recognize with the current mobility of people, individual congregations come into 1,000 contexts with the greater whole in its parts. Well, man, if that was true in the 1800s, what about with this stuff, right? I don't even have to leave my office and I'm going to reach at least 20 people because, I mean, that's so many people, maybe if I'm lucky, listen to these videos. But you get the point. There are some people that do it better than me and are reaching enormous numbers of people, even around the world, and having enormous influence. But it's not just people who are doing social media. It's not just you. What you share on Facebook is seen by a whole bunch of people, and you represent a congregation, you represent a faith. It's kind of that, but it's also you go on vacation and you go to other churches. You take a job and you're transferred to a new place. We don't spend our whole lives in one small space with one small group of people. This is not the reality that we live in anymore, and it wasn't true then either. And he was recognizing the challenges that creates. He says, so there is no question that a movement may also proceed from an individual congregation affecting wider circles. What we do here will affect a wider circle than just the people here, and we need to be aware of that. Right? He says this causes harmful contacts with dissimilar elements. Talking about practices, different practices are going to come in contact with one another. And that's going to create, and I'm not necessarily saying the practices, this one's right and this one's wrong. Let's just assume they're both good. They're still going to create a certain amount of conflict and confusion when they meet, when they come in contact. And we need to be conscious of that, sensitive to that, and ready to address it. Because the last thing we want to do is cause conflict or confusion in Christ's church, right? But we need to get the idea, and this is the last thing he says. He talks about, let me back up. He says, this causes harmful contacts with dissimilar elements, i.e. practices, and defies all resolution to work only inside the individual congregation. You just get that idea out of your head, right? What we do here is going to impact more than just the people here. And so we need to think about the larger impact that what we do here is going to have on the community that we're committed to, the community that we walk together with. I mean, we need to consider the impact it's going to have on everybody, but first and foremost, the people that we have committed to walking together with. I mean, if we're serious about that commitment, if we truly do desire to walk together and share the same confession, our practices matter. They absolutely matter. And the moment I say this, some of you are thinking worship practices and stuff like that, and rightly so. But it's not just that. I mean, whatever decision we make. I mean, if Concordia decided, and we're not having this conversation, all right? So don't freak out or get excited or anything like that. But just hypothetically, if Concordia decided to pick up and move to the east side of our town or the county or something like that, that would impact the churches that are on the east side, wouldn't it? Should we talk to them first? Probably we should, right? When we make decisions, it has an impact, and we need to consider the people first and foremost that we're committed to and that we have a relationship with. Again, I'm going to put this comment down below. I encourage you to read it, spend some time with it, and this is one of those things I would love to get your feedback on. Let's avoid specific examples. Since this is a public thing and it's not a formal thing. If we're going to speak publicly about actual examples, I'd rather it be in a formal and appropriate setting. But maybe we can just have a hypothetical conversation about why this is important and why this matters. Because I don't think it's something that we talk enough about, which is why I'm bringing that up. Right. This weekend, 9 o'clock, finishing up James. Well, we'll probably do 2 more weeks in James chapter 5. And honestly, I'm not sure what I'm going to do after that because I didn't quite make it to the end of the year with James. So I'm going to have a couple of free weeks, and I haven't totally decided what I want to do. So if you want to leave a comment about that, Sunday Bible class, I may or may not listen to you, but I'm interested in what you would like to do. The other thing is obviously divine services at 10:30. Jesus comes to give us the gifts of forgiveness, life, and salvation. Don't want to miss that. God bless you all. God bless the rest of your week. Don't forget to read the quote in the comments below. Talk to you soon.